The housing allowance deposit hit my account 3 days late, and the amount was wrong by exactly $847. I'm Hunter Vaughn, 32, seaman recruit stationed at Camp Lemonnier, Djibouti. Been deployed here 8 months now. The kind of place where internet crawls and banking apps time out every third attempt. But numbers don't lie, even when the connection does. I pulled up my banking app again on my iPhone. The deposit showed $2,153 instead of the usual $3,000. My housing allowance had been consistent for 2 years. Same amount. Same date. Same automatic transfer from the military finance office. The discrepancy made no sense. I screenshot the transaction, opened my laptop, logged into the full banking website. The details were identical. Payment source showed as DoD Housing Allowance, Vaughn, H. But the amount remained $847 short. My first thought was system error. Military finance screws up constantly. But something felt off about the timing. The payment came through exactly when expected, just the wrong amount. I called the finance office back at Norfolk. Got transferred 4 times, finally reached Petty Officer Martinez. Your housing allowance shows full payment processed, Martinez said. $3,000. Sent Tuesday morning. I'm only showing $2,153. That's impossible. System shows full disbursement to your primary account. I read him my account number. He confirmed it matched their records. Maybe your bank is holding part of it, Martinez suggested. Call them directly. I hung up and dialed my bank's customer service line. 20-minute hold. Finally got through to a representative who pulled up my account. I see the deposit for $2,153, she said. That's the full amount we received from the Department of Defense. But they sent $3,000. Sir, I can only tell you what we received, $2,153. Would you like me to email you the wire transfer details? Yes. The email arrived 10 minutes later. Wire transfer documentation showed the sending amount as $2,153, not $3,000. The military finance office had sent exactly what I received. But Martinez swore they processed the full amount. I stared at the documents on my laptop screen. 2 different stories, both backed by official records. Someone was lying, or someone was stealing. I opened a new browser tab and logged into my military personnel file. Everything looked normal. Rank, pay grade, housing allowance authorization, all correct. Then I noticed something strange in the recent activity log. 3 entries from last week I didn't recognize. File access timestamps showing 0300 hours. Middle of the night. While I was sleeping in my bunk here in Djibouti, someone had been in my personnel file. The file access log showed 3 entries, all between 0200 and 0400 hours, all from a terminal I'd never used. I screenshot everything and started digging deeper. My housing allowance had been modified twice in the past month. Both changes happened during my sleep cycle. Both reduced my monthly payment by exactly $847. Someone with system access was skimming my pay. I thought back to Norfolk before deployment. Who had access to personnel files? Finance clerks, administrative staff, anyone with the right clearance level. Then I remembered Corporal Blake Morrison. Morrison worked in personnel administration. We'd deployed together twice before. Shared a barracks room in Afghanistan. He'd helped me sort out pay issues when I got promoted to Petty Officer 2nd Class. Morrison knew my service number, my bank details, my deployment schedule. More importantly, Morrison stayed behind at Norfolk when our unit deployed to Djibouti. He had full access to the personnel systems, and he knew I'd be halfway around the world for 6 months. I called Morrison's direct line at the Norfolk personnel office. Got his voicemail, left a casual message asking about some paperwork questions. He called back 3 hours later. "Hunter, good to hear from you," Morrison said. "How's the desert treating you?" "Hot and boring. Listen, I'm having some issues with my housing allowance, getting short paid." "That sucks. What's the problem?" I explained the missing $847. Morrison listened without interrupting. Sounds like a system glitch, he said. I can look into it from this end. Send me your account details and I'll trace the payments. Something in his voice felt wrong. Too helpful. Too eager. Actually, I think I figured it out, I lied. Bank error on their end. Thanks anyway. No problem. Let me know if you need anything else. After hanging up, I felt sick. Morrison had offered to help immediately. No questions about why I called him specifically. No surprise about the exact amount missing. Like he already knew. I needed proof. Real evidence, not just suspicion. I called Petty Officer Chen back at Norfolk. Chen worked in IT security. We'd gone through basic training together. He owed me a favor from when I covered his duty shifts during his divorce. Chen, I need you to run a security audit on my personnel file. Someone's been accessing it without authorization. That's a serious accusation, Hunter. You sure about this? Dead sure. Can you trace the access logs? Give me 24 hours. I'll send you everything through encrypted email. Chen's report arrived the next evening. Detailed logs showing every access to my file over the past 2 months. Most entries were routine. My own logins. Automated system updates, but 7 entries stood out, all from Morrison's terminal. All during overnight hours when the office was supposed to be empty. The timestamps matched exactly with the dates my housing allowance got modified. Chen had included Morrison's badge swipe records. He'd been entering the building at 0200 hours, leaving by 0400, 3 times per week for the past month. Working alone, in the middle of the night. Accessing files he had no business touching. I had him, but I needed more than access logs. I needed to prove Morrison was actually stealing the money. Not just looking at files. I called my bank again. This time I asked for the fraud department. I need to trace some wire transfers, I told the investigator. I think someone's intercepting my military pay. We'll need to file a formal complaint. Can you provide documentation? I emailed them Chen's security audit and my pay statements. The investigator called back 2 hours later. Mr. Vaughn, we found something interesting. Your housing allowance payments are being split. Part comes to your account. Part goes to a secondary account. What secondary account? Account holder is listed as Hunter Vaughn, but different social security number, different address. My blood went cold. Someone was using my name to steal my money. Can you give me the address on the fake account? Norfolk, Virginia, apartment complex called Seaside Gardens. I knew that complex. Morrison lived there. The investigator continued. The account was opened 6 weeks ago. Right after your deployment started. Whoever opened it had your full military personnel file, service number, rank, unit designation, everything. Morrison had created a fake Hunter Vaughn, used my identity to open a bank account, then modified my personnel file to split my housing allowance between 2 accounts. For 6 weeks, he'd been stealing $847 every month, over $5,000 total. And he would have kept going for my entire deployment. Another 4 months. Another $13,000. I hung up and stared at the evidence spread across my laptop screen. Access logs, bank records, address verification, Morrison's badge swipes. Everything pointed to the same conclusion. My friend. My roommate. The guy who'd helped me through 2 deployments. Blake Morrison was stealing my money while I served my country 8,000 miles away. I needed Morrison to confess. Bank records and access logs wouldn't be enough for a conviction. I needed him to admit what he'd done. But I was 8,000 miles away. Morrison was in Norfolk. I couldn't confront him directly. I called Chen first. I need your help with something, I said. Morrison's been stealing my housing allowance. I have proof. Chen was quiet for 10 seconds. How much proof? Bank records, access logs, fake account in my name, everything. Jesus, Hunter, how long? 6 weeks. Over 5,000 so far. What do you need? I need you to get him talking. Record the conversation. Get him to admit it. Chen agreed immediately. We spent an hour planning the approach. Chen would confront Morrison about suspicious activity in the personnel system. Make Morrison think IT had discovered the breach. Pressure him into confessing. I contacted the base legal office next. Major Rodriguez handled fraud cases for deployed personnel. This is identity theft and wire fraud, Rodriguez said after reviewing my evidence. Federal crimes will need to involve civilian authorities. What's the process? I'll contact the FBI field office in Norfolk. They'll coordinate with base security, but we need that recorded confession first. Rodriguez connected me with Agent Walker from the Virginia State Attorney General's office. Walker specialized in military fraud cases. Mr. Vaughn, this fits a pattern we've been tracking, Walker said. Personnel clerks using deployment rosters to identify targets. Your friend picked the wrong victim. What happens when we get the confession? We arrest him, seize his accounts, recover your money, then prosecution. Walker explained the sting operation. Chen would wear a recording device. Meet Morrison in a public place. Get him talking about the personnel system breach. We need him to admit 3 things, Walker said. Accessing your file without authorization, creating the fake account, stealing the money. 2 days later, Chen called Morrison. Blake, we need to talk. IT found some irregularities in the personnel system. Your access logs are flagged. Morrison agreed to meet at a coffee shop near the base. Chen wore a wire provided by Agent Walker's team. FBI surveillance units positioned around the location. I listened to the recording 3 hours later. Chen started carefully. Blake, someone's been accessing deployed personnel files, modifying pay records. IT thinks it's an inside job. Morrison's voice was tense. What kind of modifications? Housing allowances mostly. Someone's redirecting payments to fake accounts. Long pause. Morrison breathing heavily. How much does IT know? They have access logs, timestamps, badge swipes. They know someone with personnel access is doing this. Another pause. Morrison clearing his throat. Chen, I need to tell you something. I've been having money problems. My mom's medical bills. I couldn't keep up. What are you saying, Blake? I looked at some files, found guys who were deployed long-term, set up secondary accounts for their housing allowances. Chen pressed harder. Whose files? Hunter Vaughn, Marcus Webb, 2 others. I only took part of their housing money. They wouldn't notice for months. How much, Blake? From Hunter? About $5,000 so far. I was going to pay it back before he returned. Chen got everything. Morrison admitted accessing the files, creating fake accounts, stealing the money, using my identity. Agent Walker's team moved in immediately. Morrison was arrested at the coffee shop, charged with identity theft, wire fraud, and computer crimes. The FBI seized Morrison's apartment that afternoon, found printed copies of personnel files, bank statements for the fake accounts, evidence of 4 separate victims. Walker called me with the update. We recovered $18,000 total. Morrison was stealing from 4 deployed service members, you, plus 3 others. What's his sentence looking like? Federal guidelines suggest 18 to 24 months, plus restitution, plus dishonorable discharge. Morrison's fake accounts were frozen. My stolen money was recovered within a week. The bank reversed all fraudulent transactions, but Morrison had stolen from 3 other deployed troops. Marcus Webb lost $3,200. Sarah Kim lost $4,100. David Torres lost $5,700. I helped Walker contact each victim, provided testimony for their cases, made sure they recovered every stolen dollar. Morrison pled guilty 6 weeks later. Avoided trial in exchange for full restitution and cooperation. The judge sentenced him to 20 months federal prison, dishonorable discharge, $50,000 in fines, permanent ban from government employment. Mr. Morrison, the judge said during sentencing, you betrayed the trust of service members deployed in defense of this country. Your actions represent the worst kind of theft. Morrison looked at me once during the hearing. I stared back without expression. He'd stolen from me while I served overseas. No forgiveness for that. Agent Walker shook my hand after the sentencing. You did good work, Vaughn. Most victims never catch this kind of fraud. Morrison would have kept stealing for months. I returned to Djibouti the next day. My deployment continued for 3 more months, but the betrayal was behind me. Morrison was in federal prison. My money was recovered. The other victims were made whole. Justice served. Case closed. But I couldn't stop thinking about the other troops who might be getting robbed right now, deployed overseas, trusting people back home, never checking their accounts. I started monitoring military fraud forums, helping other service members identify suspicious activity, sharing Morrison's case as a warning. The betrayal had cost me a friend, but it taught me something valuable. Trust requires verification, even with people you've known for years. 6 months later, I was back at Fort Carson. Colorado felt cold after 18 months in the Horn of Africa. My apartment was smaller than I remembered, quiet. No diesel generators humming outside, no convoy schedules to memorize. The transition back to stateside duty was harder than expected. Everything moved slower here. Paperwork took weeks instead of hours. Simple decisions required 3 approvals. But the Morrison case had changed something in me. I couldn't ignore what I'd learned about military fraud. I started volunteering with the base legal assistance office, helping junior enlisted review their financial accounts, teaching them about deployment scams. Check your credit reports monthly, I told a group of privates heading to Kuwait. Set up account alerts for every transaction over $50. Trust nobody with your banking information. They listened because I had a story to tell. Morrison's mugshot was still fresh in my mind. The legal aid office connected me with a non-profit organization. They handled insurance fraud cases for deployed troops, denied claims, fraudulent policies, identity theft. I partner with legal aid to represent troops in denied claims cases. The work was satisfying in ways combat operations never were. Every case we won meant another service member got justice, another scammer went to prison. Morrison was released after serving 16 months. Dishonorable discharge meant no veteran benefits, no GI Bill, no VA healthcare. He'd destroyed his own future along with mine. I heard he was working construction in Phoenix, living paycheck to paycheck, still paying restitution to his victims. Good. Last week, First helped a Marine corporal recover $8,000 stolen during his Afghanistan deployment. His own cousin had used his identity to open credit cards. Family betrayal hit different than friendship betrayal, but theft was theft. The corporal thanked me after we won his case, said he'd never trust anyone with his finances again. Smart, I told him. Trust is earned, not given. My own finances were solid now. Emergency fund rebuilt, credit score restored, investment accounts growing steadily. But I kept Morrison's case file in my desk drawer, a reminder that betrayal comes from unexpected places, that vigilance never ends. The apartment was quiet tonight. No roommates, no drama, no surprises waiting in my bank account. I opened my laptop and checked the military fraud forum. 3 new posts from deployed troops asking for help, suspicious charges, missing money, fake documents. I started typing responses, sharing Morrison's story, offering guidance. The work continued. Justice was a process, not a destination. Outside my window, Fort Carson settled into evening quiet. Barracks lights dimmed, training schedules reset for tomorrow. I closed the laptop and turned off the lights. It was finally over, and the silence felt earned.